And just as soon as I hit record, I start coughing my head off. As always. So yeah, it's Wednesday. Um, yeah, sometimes I forget what day of the week it is. Wednesday, November 20th. That doesn't seem right at all. Anyway, I'm working on some Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I actually got this as commission, working on this for a friend of a friend, and trying to get it done, knock it out, and get it back to them so they can actually use these. Um, I have no idea how to pronounce this guy's name. Graz'zt, yeah, the blue guy. Blue guy. Let's just get into this stuff, cause yeah. All right. Yep, I did spell that right. I don't know, but so these are they are plastic, but they're a much like softer plastic. If you're used to working with like Games Workshop or Privateer Press or anything like that, they're much softer plastic. I mean, that did not look right. um, yeah, there's a lot of bounce in this stuff, and I don't know if we can see his face there, but like one eye's like way, yeah. I mean, it's not bad, but it's sort of off. But hey, we'll work with what we got. I went ahead and did the base on this one. It's supposed to be like a sandstone sort of thing with some sand around it, so uh, just did that. Put a little Agrax earth shade on top of it to dirty it up. We'll hit it with a dry brush just to bring some of those edges and stuff back out. But um, this guy has that blue skin, and I've got a recipe for blue skin, so let's just grab the fang and start getting a base coat down on this guy. And believe it or not, we're just going to use that same blue that we had the other day. I think on Monday I did some blue, and yep, it's still on the wet palette, and with just a little bit of water, it's still good. So he's got a little shoulders thing here. We're going to try to stay away from that so we don't have to go back and clean that up. But we're going to get all his skin is blue, not Smurf blue. This is the fang, I believe. We're going to try to get that as blue as we can. We'll probably have to do a couple of coats because probably show through with that. I primed it with Wraithbone, so that's probably going to show through a little bit. I'm not too worried if I get off of his fingers here because I can just come back, like, they'll be metallic on the blade and all that stuff. We just want to make sure that skin turns blue. And as you can see, I've already hit the blue in a couple of spots. That's alright. We're going to be painting over that anyway, so we'll come back and we'll clean that up when we paint over the top of that. Now, ooh, wow, I was way off the camera, sorry. So we're going to come down here. His hair is like a black. I don't know exactly what we'll do with it yet, but we'll get it. Make sure we get his ears right up along that hairline. With his hair being darker, I'd rather get into the hair and have to clean it up than not. So I'll push that color up into the top of his head as much as I can. And he's got a little goatee too, so hello, Paul. Make sure I get those little spots of skin on the back of his neck, down there in his collarbone. It almost looks like this thing is actually pinned into him, so I think it is. So make sure we get that little spot around there. Grab a little more paint and just go across his chest. So I went and primed this guy last night. And when I primed the base, it suddenly dawned on me that I had not washed the model. And you're like, well, you know, it's coming from the factory. Why the heck do you have to wash the model? Well, when they do the dyes on these, they put a releasing agent. I don't know exactly what kind of chemical it is or what it is, or if it could be olive oil, olive oil, for all I know. But whatever it is it leaves a nice little shiny coating on the plastic. And if you don't get that nice shiny coat off the plastic, nothing wants to stick to it. And what that little shiny coat's for is when they put it in the mold, they spray the mold with that, and then they put the plastic in it. And so the little coat helps get all the little definition that you can get out of the model, but it also keeps anything from sticking to it, which is great while you're molding. Absolutely sucks when you're painting. So the lesson of the story, kids, is wash your models. But that was not the only problem that I had with this. So my basement is semi-finished. There's walls, but it has a concrete floor. Most of it has a ceiling. And I'm not just talking about like the floor from the above. So it's gotten cold here at night, and trying to prime something out in the cold, especially out of a rattle can, is not conducive for success. I got to use the 10-cent word. Yay. But yeah, it doesn't work real well. So found a little spot downstairs where it's not really going to hurt anything. And I'm not sticking around down there, so I don't have to breathe in all those fumes once I get it done. basically, I shot the primer on there last night, and I'm like, yay! So I got to come back upstairs, and the stairs leading from downstairs to upstairs are carpeted. Not a problem. The problem existed when the little poster putty that I used to attach him to this, and you can sort of see him wiggle as I paint. Um, it wiggles. Sometimes it just flat out gives up the fight and lets stuff fall off. Normally, that is not a problem. You just pick it up, dust it off, carry on about your day. Well, if you have a model that still has wet primer on it, and it falls into carpet that hasn't been vacuumed in forever, because, we usually don't go down there too much, you will find that carpet, even though cats, dogs, whatever aren't on it, will have a plethora. That's right, a plethora of animal hair. And said plethora will become a plethora of fur coat all over your model. So, within 5 minutes of priming him last night, I had this guy in a vat of purple stuff to take off the primer that I had just put on, so it would release all the cat hair and crud that it picked up on the stairs. So then I had to prime him again once I got it all cleaned off. So yeah, this guy's getting used to just getting abused. So yes, he really did have a full fur coat, but I don't know what he had. But yeah, it was it. Mm-hmm. He definitely had a full fur coat. It was like an Angora sweater on steroids. Sorry about that. So, later in the week, probably Friday, just because, Friday's sort of a fun day, we will have a extra special edition. A very special episode. And I don't want to ruin the surprise. I sort of already did, but I will be painting a character that will not make it to the tabletop. Because I don't know of any game that actually uses these damn things. But the second I saw that they actually made these, and they made them primed, they just didn't paint them. I saw it Saturday during the tournament. I'd seen like somebody, I think Kai had posted where he was painting one, but I hadn't found any of these yet. And when we went to the shop to start the tournament on Saturday, me and Jacob were surprised as we walked in the door, and right on the little table as you walk in the door was a rack full of these. At the time it had 3 characters on it, but by the time we or by the time I pulled the trigger on it, I think there were only 2 characters. But I was asked not to paint one of the characters today because I was originally going to do that. Man, I just keep going off camera. I was asked not to because somebody couldn't tune in today. So that, and I was threatened within an inch of my life if I painted that character. Well, this person was not able to watch, that I would be hurt. Threatened with bodily harm. Granted, this is all through text, but I could feel the menace. Just trying to get that blue to level out and not gum up the detail. There we go. Nope, just a little bit on the back of the hand here. We'll be all right. A little bit right through the ribs. All right. So he is now Smurftastic. Now you can sort of see some of the detail on him. It is far from the worst D&D model that I've ever worked on. But, there's still some stuff. Alright. So we're going to take a little bit of the Wraithbone. Cough away from the mic. Like I said, Wraithbone's what I primed this in, so it should be fair. The spray primer versus what you get in the pots is pretty close, so it shouldn't be that big a deal. I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit where I sort of tagged that. I did a big old shot over here, which is probably going to take a couple of coats to bury back up. Because white covering blue does not work really well. On that edge. I think I just saw Jordan join in. Hello. That, and then just a little bit back over here. Not so much worried about it on the top as I am down here, because I'm going to use contrast paint down here on this bit. So I need that covered up. or the contrast will not work. Well, I mean, it would work, but it's going to have a dark blue tint to it, and that's just not going to work for what I'm wanting to try to do. Got a little bit around his belt. Clean that up. A little bit over here on his belt. Clean that up. A little bit more right there. All right. Now, time for one of my favorite contrast paints. You know it, you love it. Snakebite leather. You get something that you want to look like leather? Give this stuff a shot, because you can use it and be done in 5 minutes, or you can spend a half hour trying to do what it does. Whichever one you want to do. Your model, your way. Happy the model. So we're going to take and we're going to put this snakebite leather where we just went through and cleaned all this up. And this is one of the few contrasts that I use on the regular. And it's definitely one of the few that I use straight out of the pot, because I don't know, it's got a yellowish brown to it. A little bit of red, I guess, thrown in. But if you slap it on there, it turns a nice leathery brown. If you wait just a little bit on it, if you want more brown into your leather, if you wait just a little bit, you go back when it dries, hit it just a little bit more, and then you'll get that real dark brown leather. Or say you don't want that. Say you want something to look like a worn leather that was dyed black. You can do that too. You just come back over the top of it with oh shoot, what's the name of it? Black Templar. And this stuff will take on that much darker dyed black leather look, but you'll still get that brown. That will show through just a little bit. Part of the reason you do poster tack like this is so you can get into these little places where the model just doesn't want you to go. If that joker was glued down to a base, you'd never get that spot. So we're starting to get that leather look, worn leather. Alright, I don't want at that big spot right there, but we're going to stop messing around with it or we're going to start peeling the brown back off the top. That would be bad. Alright. So, his little sash here that goes along is going to be a red base, and then if I really want to get in there, I may try to do some plaid, which means running some black lines, freehanding some stuff. But the way that thing is sagged and turned and all that stuff, I just don't know if it's going to be worth it. It's not going to show that much, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right. And there's the cat. Hi, kitty. So attack green. Nope, that's not what we want. What we want is rust gray. I'll put a little dab of that because we're going to do some highlights across those muscles and all that across his little Smurfy blue skin. Add just a little bit of water to it. Now we're cooking with gas. Alright. Well, a little thicker than that. There we go. So you can sort of see when you run it across your hand like that, you get an idea of what the color is going to turn out like when you start putting it on the model. So since he spent so much time at the gym, we're going to go in here, we're going to make sure we define that little six-pack that he's got. Just going in and putting a real light rust gray across these muscles. And like up here on his collarbones, which for some reason take off all the way across him. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know why it does it, but it does. So up that, then whoop, went off the camera again. There we go. A little bit of that rust gray across his back. And we're going to come up here on his shoulder where that runs down from his neck. Give that just a little line right there. And then, of course, on his shoulder here, we're going to give that a good shot of the gray almost all the way down to just at the gap there. There, we'll give that a little highlight. Give this a little highlight on the back side. Want it thin, not too thin though. There we go. Across the back of his arm. Back along there. Probably operating a little too thin right there, but we're going to go with it and try to force it anyway. Then across the back of his hand here, run that down the fingers, the knuckles, the inside of that palm, maybe just a little bit up into his hand, and right there, his thumb. Come back and give this a little more, brighten this up just a little bit. Then we'll take a little bit of this and like at the top of his ears where the light's hitting, give that a shot, and then like any part that we feel in his ear that's going to catch light, so like clear down there at the bottom, we'll hit that a little bit. Same thing on the other side. You still want some of those shadows and stuff, but you don't want. And we're going to catch that cheekbone that comes down. Still want some of that undershade, but you don't. You want that to catch. Then like the nose, and then right across the top of the brow. We'll lighten that up, and then right up there at the hairline, we'll give it a little bit. Then down here at his chin, not on a goatee since he's got that fur on his chin there. Just bring that up. So now, now his face has got that little extra definition. We're going to wash this a little bit too, so we'll still get a little bit more out of it. We're going to go across on his shoulder here. a little bit up his back here. Now it's getting under his arm, so we don't want to go too far. Like, we don't want to put a highlight right down there, but because it's a miniature and because you need more contrast than what you would normally see with your eye just to pick it up because the minis are so small, you still want to give, even though that's going to be a shaded spot, you still want to give it a little bit of highlight, because it won't look right if you don't. And I don't know if he's taunting somebody or what he's doing here. Hey, how about we go over here? We're going to give that across the top of there. We're going to give his palm a little extra highlight. We'll give those fingers a shot. And then on the back of his hand, we'll give like where the knuckles are a little extra shot there. Maybe the tips of his fingers, just a little bit to find the bits of his hand here. So just two colors, and he's really starting to stand out a little bit more. There we go. A little bit more in those cheeks. Down that. Man, you can't really see what I was doing there, could you? So we're just trying to get, I'm trying to get right there at the base of that goatee and just a little bit across the top of his lip. So now his face just pops a little bit more. Go back, like the higher points on his leg here. Trying to get into that one little spot. It's gotta, let's see if I can do this here. There we go. Can't believe that worked. Alright. Give his shins a couple of shots here. The upper part of his thigh. Just because we think the light's going to hit that a little bit more. And then like across his toes. His little toesy mosies. Give those a little shot. Sorry. There we go. Maybe a little bit across the arch of the foot there. And then the back here where it, like the ankle bone / heel. I don't know what you call it when it's that canine sort of leg stuck back around, but for right now it's going to be heel. And yeah. So like I said, this is one of the commissions that I'm doing. It's something I typically paint, but hey, money's money, right? Alright. So he is... We've got 2 shades on him right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of a wash across it and really make this stand out. So we're going to take a little Drakenhof Nightshade and we're going to run it across it. And what it'll do is it'll tie that rust gray that we've got, like on the face and the pecs and the arms and all that stuff, and it'll tie it in with that fang blue that we have underneath it. And then we'll go back with one, after we get done with that, we will go back with one more higher color, which I think is called Fenrisian Gray. It's just a brighter gray. It's still got a ton of blue in it, but it's a little bit brighter. And then we'll really hit like across the nose and the face. We'll pick a bunch of those details out. This is a shade, so I don't want too much of it. I don't want it running all over the place, but I do want it to darken up the recesses. I want it to bring up that rust gray into a little bit of a brighter blue. And I want it to sort of blend the rust gray with the fang blue that we already have on there. And basically what it's doing, sort of, I guess it's called a filter. Like I said, not an art school student, but I'm learning. So it puts basically a filter over the top of it to blend those 2 colors together to make them look more consistent. We'll get some of those shadows a little bit darker. Sorry. And we'll lose some of the highlight that we had for a minute. But we're going to pick that back up. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And this darker blue also moves us out of Smurf territory. So here's where I want to be careful, because that blue will show up on the snakebite leather that I've put down. So really don't want to run that up into the brown, because then that means a whole cleanup job that is a pain in the butt. Let that run around there. I'm putting it on the legs a little bit heavier than I did up on the upper bit, because the legs are, underneath them. And they're going to catch a little more shadow, so it should look a little darker down there across those legs than it does on the upper bits that are catching all the light. Plus, it's supposed to be a demon prince, and I really just don't see him getting a whole lot of daylight. There we go. So, just a darker blue. You can tell where it really caught, like, up here around the eye sockets. It gave it a little darker blue. We're just going to push that even further by hitting those just one more time and hitting the inside of those ears. Right there at his mouth. Alright. Then I want that a little bit darker right there at the top of his belt. So I want that to almost fade to a black. So give that a little shot right there. Now, like everything else, if you gotta wait until that glaze dries, or shade dries, because if you start pushing that around too much, what'll happen is that will go really wonky on you really fast, and it'll start pulling like little spots of the paint off if you're painting over it while it's still wet. So we're going to step away from the blue while it dries. Remember how I said I wanted this sort of like a apron? That's not it. There it is. I wanted this back kilt leathery, whatever the heck it is. I wanted it to have this leather feel, but I wanted it to be dyed black. So I forget what they call it, but I don't know. Alright, so we're going to take a little bit of Black Templar, and this back bit of this kilt, I guess you'd call it. Here's butt flap. We're going to take a little bit of Black Templar over top of it. I don't want it up here on the little flaps though, so be real careful. Pull that up into there, that over to there, and then back around like so. And then we'll have to let it set for a bit, because if I start pulling it around too much, it will go all wonky, and I'll end up with some spot where the brown just really shows through, as opposed to merely hints that there's brown under there. Underneath in the back of these flaps, I'm going to give a shot of the black. I'm not so worried about the color, I just want it to be drowned out. I don't want like a bright color shining from underneath there to where it comes out. There we go. So there's that. Now, while the black Templar dries, we'll go back to our snakebite leather. We'll just give this leather up front an even darker shot. So the first one you had a lot of red and yellow sort of shining through with it. The second coat you start picking up more of the brown. And then we're just going to take a little bead of this and run it right in the middle of this belt to make it look like the edges have been beaten up. Not so much the middle. You want it to look leather or weathered. So right down the middle. Don't push it too much. Just let it sit on there and dry. It'll be fine. Then we're going to take a little Screamer Pink. Seems to be one of those colors that lately I just cannot get away from. No, I don't want Screamer Pink for this. I might use it in the highlight. We want a darker red, so we're going to go with a Scorn Red. Where Screamer Pink's sort of a... Oh, well, you can see it's sort of got a pinkish purple into it. I want that blood red. So we'll go with some corn base here. Drop that back into the filing system there. Very scientific. Make sure we got some good control on it. And this cloth. Go back. Making sure we don't leave any little white spots between it and the blue. Sorry, I'm getting sniffly again. We're just going to make sure that we get a nice, good base coat on this. Because we're going to wash it to darken it up a little bit. Make sure we don't get it on the blue that we've already done. Yep, I was too high. Sorry. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that white base coat. Just trying to make sure that we don't have any of that film. Yeah. Winter is great for me, you know. Go along the back. Make sure I'm on the camera. There's a little spot hiding way back in there. It's alright. We'll probably kill it with wash when we do it. I just don't want that to come out being bright white. But like I said, that wash will probably run in there fairly well to get rid of that. More red over here. More red, and I'm off the camera. Alright. One little white spot down, right down there. Like I said, there was a little bit. I have one little spot where I hit that arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with just a little bit of the fang. Maybe a little bit more. And that little red spot's gone off the blue skin. So as that shade's dried, it's gone a little more translucent. It doesn't look near as dark as it did. And now you're getting those darker recesses where the fang blue was, then a transition between the fang blue and the gray, but the gray is still tinted blue and tied in with it. It seems like a long way to go. It sort of is, but it works really well, so why fight it? That brings us up to about the hour mark, and what we'll be doing I will be trying to match the hair to the box, which is sort of a brown. Actually, it's really damn near impossible to tell what it is, so it'll probably be like a dark brown to a black. We'll work that hair up, and then at the end of this we'll go back in his little claws and everything. It shows white on the box, but that just seems like way too much contrast, so I'll probably just blacken out the claws. Then we'll catch his goatee and his eyes. The little skulls on him, we'll go back and make those look scully, like they're actually made out of bone. And then we'll give his blade a nice little go over with cold steel and maybe some gold on the hilt. Maybe give it a leather wrap, and then probably going to give it a little bit of a red tint, just since he's a demon. Make it stand out just a little bit. Maybe a little red and yellow across it. Give it a two-tone. Anyway, we're going to be doing all that off camera because we are at the hour mark. And that's going to do it for today. So, thanks for tuning in. I know I usually catch everybody on their lunch, but thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking it out for a couple of minutes. And might go back and try some of the... There we go. Some more of the Bone Reapers. Might be trying some of that this week. I've also got two big D&D models to finish this project off. One's done. Our big boy here. This is one of the D&D dragons. If you ever really want to, I'll let you take a look at this. If you ever want to lose your mind, then get one of these models and try to do the wings, because they are just a hot mess. You can get them together, but it takes forever to do it. So, like I said, this is one of those D&D models. The first of the big boys. There's two more back there. Back there in the back, it's a Dracolich and a Demo-Gorgon. And a Demi, and a Demo. You know, it's all about the vowels. So, I'll be putting those together. That's the last of this commission, so I'll be knocking those out. Till next time, see you Thursday. Go paint something.